good evening to all my friends here in the US, and good morning to my friends from the Philippines. Again, I am Carla White. I am a science teacher here in San Diego, California. It's pretty hot out today. It's August 17 at 6 in the evening here. And anywhere in the world, they're ahead of us, like in the Philippines, most especially. Hi to my friends in the Philippines. It's August 18th at 9 in the morning. So I'm really excited today because last week we talked about teachers' guide for distance learning. I'd like to thank Miss Cheryl Goodman, who co-hosted me last week about some tips on how we can help our teachers plan and develop a flexible plan for distance learning that could be fitted for face-to-face, hybrid, or virtual learning. So today we are actually going to talk about Parents Guide, some questions of parents, and I will be with my two co-hosts today, and they are also my colleagues at my school, and they will help me discuss and answer some questions that our parents might have for distance learning. Now, I encourage you guys to ask some questions today, and we'll try to answer it during our Q&A. But before we start with that, I just want to know and I want to see who are here. So if you could please type it on the chat where you're from, what's your role, are you a parent, are you a teacher or a student, please type it on the chat. And I will be looking at our friends today. So let's take a look. I have Flor Delisa Quizon. Hi, good morning to you. How are you? I have Maiden Bailon. Good morning, Maiden. I have Marivon. Hi, Marivon. I just emailed you today. And then I also have Yanti. Oh, this is Drayton and Jules' mom. Hi there. Thank you for watching. And I also have Kyla, and Kyla's a parent of a sixth grader. Welcome to Mrs. White Science Online. I also have Dejanette Avila and a mom of Xavier Avila, a seventh grader. I have Neil Egasani. Hi, Mr. Egasani. How are you doing? Good evening. Nice to see you. And I also have Mrs. Washington. She's also a parent of Tavion, a seventh grader. Woo, there's many of us here tonight. So welcome to everybody and welcome. And I'm not going to take very long, but please type it in the comment. What's your role? Are you our parents? Are you also in the same position as we are as teachers? And we're going to have a lot of conversation tonight in terms of how we can support our students during remote learning. I myself, I'm actually a new parent at our school. My son's going to be a sixth grader, and which is why I wanted to first and foremost share my quick experience of what happened with us during distance learning. And it was really a challenge. I'm a teacher and a parent, so it was really a struggle because like I have to attend to my son, but then again I have to attend to my students' needs also. So during that time it was really a struggle. I'm trying to find how I can effectively manage my student and at the same time also manage my time as a teacher. So there were arguments. I'm glad that he wasn't in tears when I gave him so many things to do, but it was really a time that I had to reflect on. There's some challenges, but I learned that if we know what to do and we have some directions, especially from teachers, from the school, I think we will be able to be champions. Like I said last week, that parents could be the best resource person our students could have at home when remote learning starts. Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guests and my co-hosts today. I have Coach Megan Craig and Mrs. Rosie Beck, and they're from Magnolia Science Academy. Coach Greg is our PE teacher and our archery coach and cross country coach, and Ms. Rosie Beck. She is our math teacher and our Khan Academy ambassador at Magnolia. Welcome. How are you guys doing?
Hi.
Doing
Good
really
to see everybody.
Thanks for having us, Carla.
Oh, thank you for saying yes to me. But I just wanted to ask you, how's your day been? Are you guys, how's the temperature? It's really hot right now.
Yes, I don't have air conditioning either, so it's very hot, but I'm excited to be here and excited to see a lot of MSA parents and the viewers right now. So it's awesome that you guys are attending.
Yes. And how about you, Miss Beck? How are you? How's the weather there?
Oh, it is really hot, just like it is everywhere in San Diego right now.
Oh my
And
gosh.
again, no air conditioning either. But a little floor fan, a little ceiling fan, and the patio, and it works.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not gonna take very long because we would want our parents to kind of ask some questions, but before we start with that, let's just start with this first question. Parents guide to distance learning. So, what should we know as parents in terms of helping our students during remote learning? I'm sure you guys can remember very well our last 10 weeks of distance learning, right, Coach Craig, Mrs. Beck? Do you
Yeah.
remember the days?
I think some of the main thing to remember is to take it easy on yourself and on your child. Be forgiving, and because it is all new to all of us on both sides, and it's new for your child and it's new for you, and just you're gonna figure it out over time.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I've invited two parents that I know who just wanted to share first their experience as parents last distance learning. So let's watch this first one.
Hello everyone, my name is Nina and I'm a parent to an incoming 8th grader. When Lara first started distance learning back in April, we bumped into two challenges. One, her days were so disorganized. She woke up at her own time, she slept at her own time, which followed that she did her schoolwork at her own time. And the other challenge is meeting deadlines. There came a point that she could not keep up anymore. So to help Lara, I came up with two things. So number one, I created a new routine for her as if she still physically goes to school. I would like to highlight three activities here that I think are essential. Physical activity, in Lara's case, walk the dogs, biking, hip-hop dance, or any other type of home exercise. I think this would be a good time for our kids to stretch their muscles, especially that now they stay indoors more. The independent study is when she does her schoolwork on her own, and then if she has questions, we do further discussion during the guided study with mom. That's tip number one. To keep up with deadlines, I got Lara this big calendar. She wrote what homework needs to be done and then when it is actually due. And as a final note, I would like to share that being comfortable communicating with the teachers is very helpful. I think the open communication will help our kids be more successful during this distance learning. I would like to thank Ms. White for giving me the opportunity to share these three things effective during online education. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Miss Nina. She's from Kansas. So I have my first question here. Will parents become the teachers to their students to teach the curriculum? Yes or no? I'll quiz both of you, Mrs. Beck and Coach Greg. Yes, no.
No.
I would say no.
No. Because this is the top three things that parents would do because they are their students' mentors, right? Cheerleader, quality control, and the motivators. So, what do you think? is this the right fit as our students' parents? Is this the right description for our parents? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the best way you can support your student is by motivating and setting rewards and checking in with them on what they're learning. But don't worry about the content. That's what we'll be doing. The teachers will all be working on that via live meetings or their instruction they post on Google Classroom or Canvas. So mostly the parents' role is to help them get motivated because it's hard at home, not in front of the teacher, and check in on them on a daily basis.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that, Coach Craig, on what we can do as parents to be their students' mentors. So we don't want our parents, like including me, to have the burden of like studying with your students, because we are going to provide any help that we could while your students are doing their worksheets, doing their homework, which is why the synchronous sessions would be, the best way we can actually, let our students know what's up, guide them, use of technology, and all that stuff. So that way you can focus on just, cheering them on, motivating them at home, and at the same time, kind of like, let them be focused. So just like what Miss Nina, the parent that you saw earlier, she just pretty much guided her student, some of those two things, like the scheduling and the planner at home, that she gave the student, her student, in order for them to kind of like manage their time too, which is why we're going to go to the next question. So, how are we going to ensure that students are ready and prepared for online or blended learning? So, of course, the first one is our learning spaces. So, we want to make sure that we have a designated space at home. So, if we don't have that much space, maybe that one corner at our house that our students will go to school, and kind of like, have a designated space, a fixed space where they could be in there and stay in there. And also provide or check out a computer. We do have computer checkout in school, right? Because we're a one-to-one school, right? So that's another thing we might want to start planning on. If you feel like you need an extra computer, I think it's always safe to just check out one computer, even if you already have one existing, and also internet, some learning materials. So even if we're going digital, I think a notebook, writing materials. Mrs. Beck, you can answer this one, because in math they should still be calculating on a paper, right?
Yes, yes, we want them to still have good, strong skills in being able to figure it out without a calculator. But then there are also times where they will need a calculator too, because they'll be going on to harder, more challenging things, and we want them to focus on the problem at hand and less on the calculations.
Yeah, that's perfect. As well as lighting. So lighting actually is a one thing that we would encourage our students to have to help them focus. If an earphone actually will help them focus, that's another thing. And also to treat the virtual learning environment the actual school. So this is kind of like last time when we did distance learning. It's kind of like whenever, but I think a bit more structure would help with this. And I just wanted to, no, never mind. We're on live right now. Okay. So another one is a consistent schedule and routine at home. So Nina mentioned about like a schedule. So as a parent, I want to respect my students' time when they need to be in school. I think that's one thing that I realized, that if my student is working, I have to respect that. And as well as whatever schedule that your school prescribed, hopefully that would be something that would put structure in, in your students' school day. What do you think, Coach Craig? Anything that I may have missed on this one?
No, I think the schedule is pretty important. I know at our school, we're going to try to mimic our normal school schedule starting at 8 a.m. So when students transition back to school in some form of hybrid, it's not such a big change. They'll already be used to getting up in the morning and getting in ready and signing into their classes. So if you could practice that with your students, print out their schedule so they can see it. That will really help them build a routine, and it'll be easier for them to learn. Mm-hmm.
I have a question though.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, and Miss Beck, you might want to answer this too. What if we're done with synchronous session and there's this time that a student is working independently, or they don't get to see you anymore because we have a live session, right? And then you do activity with our students and stuff like that. Now, what if they're doing their independent work? Does that mean that they don't need to do work anymore? So what is that kind of like that independent study time what should be in there? If I'm a parent and I see that there's like 1 hour after lunch, let's say based on our school schedule, for example, there's like 1 hour independent study time. What should we expect as parents that our students should be doing in that block?
Well, I would think that they should be finishing up any work from their earlier morning classes or preparing for their next day class, as well as looking to find out if a teacher has a tutoring or an office hour, and they can go on and check in with the teachers as well. What I did also want to say about your schedule too is have the kids help you make that schedule so that it's not something they're being told to do. It's something they're developing and creating themselves. And different types of schedules might work differently for different kids. So for example, that video you showed was just an amazing, beautiful schedule, but that might not work for some kids. Maybe a checklist of just make sure you do this, this, and this might work better for somebody else. So kind of figure out what works best for your kids too.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Mrs. Beck. And how about break time from school? I think in our school we have about 10-minute break time, 10 to 15-minute break time on our schedule. So, have them stand up, and can they take out? I have a question though. The block schedule that we have is like 80 minutes, like, it's like back to back 80 minutes. Can they take a break in the synchronous session, do you think? Do you think that could be possible during that time?
I think it's best for them to be there fully for the live session. So if you remind your student to use the restroom during their breaks, or get a snack or something to drink during the break time, so they can be there for 100% of the instruction. It's usually not too long, so I won't want them to miss out on anything.
Sweet. That's awesome. So please make sure that we also check our school's specific like minutes on that's recommended for your grade level. Lower grade level most likely would be shorter than middle school or high school. So that's also important for us parents to know. Are there enough break time? Is the schedule of the live? What's the schedule of the live or the asynchronous sessions that your student is? And I think the schedule would really help us kind of like have our students adjust fairly quickly. And before we answer this question, I just wanted to show you another parent who also shared with us what she did with her students during distance learning.
Hi everyone, my name is Cheryl Goodman and I'm here to share my experiences as a parent during distance learning. So I'm mom to twin girls who were then in fourth grade and then a pre-K boy. He's in pre-kindergarten. And our school unfortunately closed in February of this year and we had to adjust to learning online quickly. I think we were only given a couple of days before we had to go back online. What I'm finding, as I do remember, was we have to have a clear schedule. I knew when we had started, it was really crazy. We weren't quite sure when to eat lunch. We weren't quite sure when to do our chores, or either the homework would suffer or our house was in disarray. So what I'm finding was when the teacher provided us with a suggested schedule, we were easily able to mesh that with our home schedule. So I found that when we were able to do that and follow it as a routine, it really worked. Second is making sure my kids had appropriate learning space. And by that, what I mean is they have all the tools they need, they have their books, they have their materials, and they have each a computer that they can work with. We were very fortunate that our school district provided us with computers because we don't have 3 computers at home. So we were able to kind of make it work. We wanted to make sure also that the space that they can do their synchronous learning is available. It wasn't so much that they do it in their bedrooms or do it in a space that is not appropriate for having it live online for their classmates to see. So I wanted to make sure that there's a space in our home for them to be able to complete their work and they could talk to their teacher as if they could see them in person. I think that's it. That's all I can think of. Hope that's helpful.
All right. What do you think about that?
That's great. That's really good. And that kind of goes along with what I was saying before too, of having the kids help make the schedule. You know, you fit everything in together, make it work for your family.
Yeah, and treat it as if, they're really actually going to school. In fact, one of my friends back home, they actually started school ahead because they're private school. So private school has autonomy to kind of like start whenever they want. So her students are actually wearing their uniforms while they're taking their classes online, because that kind of sets a tone too, and which is why it is kind of important for us to set up the learning spaces. I cannot emphasize that enough, that we should have that learning space for our students. But what if once, let's say for example, we already have our learning space set up, our schedule set up, how are we going to support our students while they work on their online class? So here's one thing that we wanted to know as a parent, is for us to be familiar with the online environment, or we call that learning management system that your student is using. By that I mean it could be Google Classroom. For other parents, their students might be using Canvas, they might be using Schoology, they might be using Edmodo, they might be using Blackboard. So any other learning management system that schools have in place for your students to go to school, we might want to make sure that we know how to use it, maybe ask or look for tutorials on how to use the learning management system yourself. It's fairly easy. Most of the learning management system is kind of like intuitive to use. And also, if you have the chance, especially during the first week of school, you might want to sit down and kind of navigate the learning management system with your student. So that's one big thing, because when I was guiding my student, he doesn't have the learning management system and I don't know where to look at. So once the teachers kind of like email, oh, we have Google Classroom in place and all that. So I had to sit down. I'm familiar with it, but if I'm a parent who's not a teacher and I saw that Google Classroom is what the school is using, I would want to know too. Do you agree? Is that right? Did I say that right? Yeah.
Yes. Sitting with your child and trying to figure it out with them too is really important. But also for you to know how to use the learning management system, or for that matter, any of the websites that your child will be using during the school year, whether it be Khan Academy or MimBeam or any of those, and and help them figure it out, but also you are learning along with them, maybe not the material, but you're learning how that works.
Yes, and just just to show you what I receive, if I am a parent who subscribed to, let's say, for example, I sign up for Google um, Classroom, is that every week there is a summary. Do you see it? Let me stop my sharing. I'll put it up. So I receive a summary of my students' work in my email of what I'll put it. Okay, so there's like a Google summary, weekly summary for Carl, and then there's a student work. It says missing from last week or due next week. So this is just a sample. And any class that my student is enrolled in, you will be able to see the assignments that's assigned to him, when it was posted, and when it's going to be due. So it's going to be up here at the top that says missing from last week, and then the due date is also included. Once you sign up as a parent to your Google Classroom of your student. So this is what I receive. It's a weekly thing. You can unsubscribe, but I wouldn't do that because I won't be able to receive my students' assignment. But so far, this is what this is over the summer. So there's like assignments and all the list of assignments. So you can also track and see what your student is actually learning. So that's pretty much it was actually helpful to see what your student is actually doing in the Google Classroom. So if you have not, when we start the school, especially for our school, we would want our parents to subscribe to the Google Classroom so that they can get that weekly summary of the report. So anything that we may have missed?
I think
Or
that
go for it, Coach.
one tip is
Oh.
check your email frequently and make sure you don't delete anything that looks like spam, because you sign up as a guardian on Google Classroom. It's an email from Google Classroom, and then you'll get those weekly summaries of your students' work. Another tip is to actually have your student login on your laptop or your phone if you have the Google Classroom app, because then you see the view that they have and you can see their work that they're working on to make sure it's finished. So that's another way you can view Google Classroom.
Anything that we might be missing, because maybe right now if the learning management system is not in your phone yet, especially for incoming sixth grade parents, you might want to start downloading that. And your student, when you receive your student's email account and password, you can just log in straight to the phone so that you can actually see how the classroom look like, just like what Coach Craig says. But that's one effective way. I think that has been one way some of our previous parents have done, that they have the app on their phone and pretty much do it, like see the assignment live. Next one, monitor your students' work daily. Deadlines and assignment. This is actually one of my promise to myself, to actually look at my students' assignment and pretty much spend time on asking him what it was about. That's actually one promise I made to myself. Because sometimes I say, okay, did you do your assignment? All right, bye. Okay, so that's all I do. But now it's actually one critical thing is that, okay, I have to be on top of what he is doing and actually sit down on it, even if it's just 5 minutes. I would spend that 5 minutes and be in the loop of the announcement. So my question to you, Mrs. Beck and Coach Craig, is what if a parent is too busy? How can they still make their kid report to them about the completed assignment?
We actually had a few questions in the chat about this as well. If you're working from home and you're busy, you can't go check on your student every minute, or if you're working away from home, a good thing to do is know your student's schedule. Maybe send them a message, text them during their break time, and check in and say, how did science go? What work are you working on throughout the day, so they know that you are aware and they know that someone is checking in on them. And then after work, when you come home, have your student show you the actual assignment they were working on. And that can kind of help reteach the concept as well, because so you'll know what's going on in the class, you're more able to help them, and it's that accountability for your student if they know that when you come home from work, you're going to sit down and check in on them.
Wow, I'm more harsh than than I've thought, because what I actually want my student to do is, um, if he does his work, for example, for math for the day, he has a separate sheet of paper that I will have to sign, and I have to approve what he has to say about it for after. And then if he doesn't communicate that well to me, then I'm gonna have to have him do the work over again. So that means I have to spend more time. But that's just me. But I'm not gonna do that. Don't be like me. But yes, I have to commit myself to monitoring my students' work, because sometimes if he actually senses it, my son actually senses if I'm onto him or not, and then he kind of like gauges, oh, okay, he's not into me, so I'm not gonna do my very best today, and then he's just gonna check it off his list, but he's not gonna do his best. But if he knows that I will be checking his assignment, like class distance learning, he would really do very well, and he's really gonna be like, hey, I finished my work, here you go, let's sit down. So even if it's just 5 minutes, like quizzing him or whatever, it actually helped him feel a little bit more motivated, because he take ownership of the work that he actually did. So I just want to share my experience. It's kind of like flashing back again, and hopefully I will do a better job too as a parent, to my sixth grader, when he has how many teachers? Six teachers now. Because last year he only has one, because he came from elementary. He's like one teacher, and then I think the other one is just the PE teacher who posts on Google Classroom. So, whew, I'm kind
Miss
of
White.
Yes.
Miss White, we did have a really good question about problems. So your student might run into tech issues, or they can't find something, and the class is starting and their parent is off at work and can't really help them. So the best way, students can send the teacher an email. They also have access to a private comments in Google Classroom to send their teacher messages. So encourage your student to reach out first. At MSA, all students have a Gmail address, and they can email their teacher. Actually, teachers like that better if the student emails them first. And then we're definitely going to be flexible and understanding if something comes up.
Yes.
At the end of the day, your student tells you that they weren't able to access something, or their computer shut down or something. Let us know, and we're flexible and we can help them out.
Yes, exactly. And I think the word flexibility is in everyone's should be in everyone's vocabulary nowadays, because this is uncharted territory for everyone. And there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of things that we are still learning, not just teachers but parents and students too. It's like everybody's learning new things. Last distance learning, not everybody were able to experience distance learning, and now we're here that this is the reality that we're facing right now. And which is why being flexible, and I think that's one thing. And also, we want to be advocates for ourselves, like for your students. Please encourage your students to also advocate for themselves, and let their teachers know whatever problems they might have at home, and uh, remind them every time that if they have any questions, they can always talk to their teachers. And like what Miss Goodman says, communicate with the teachers is the most effective way. And even what Nina was saying, to be comfortable communicating with parents, because we need to communicate more than ever, than it was, because we don't see each other anymore. So I hope that we can solidify that communication piece, which is why, how are we going to communicate with each other, with parents and teachers and all that? So email is the fastest and the quickest way if we have like quick questions. And teachers normally have 40, is it for 48 hours, right? For us, 48 hours time. We will reply as soon as possible as we can within our office school hours. And if we don't reply right away, please be patient. If we don't respond right away, and there are a lot of we have a lot of students and all that. If there are more pressing concern or matter, a request for a phone conference call would be, especially for issues needing um, important attention, because sometimes words spoken are actually clearer to me. If there are some matters that cannot be clarified via email, I think communicating verbally, setting up a conference call would be a good way to kind of meet, because we can't really schedule a parent meeting anymore. So a conference call, a Zoom call, if that is an important matter, then that would be the effective way to address some, pressing matters. And of course, the parent app. If your school has a parent app that the school uses to post announcements, school announcement, important messages from the school, please have that. And I think, Coach Craig, Mrs. Beck, our parent app is your Parent Square,
Yes.
right?
We also have Student Square now too.
Yeah, I think that information will be coming, but through Parent Square, you can also send like a text to a teacher, which is real quick on their phone. Keep in mind that they may be teaching at that moment, so they won't be able to respond right away. But I know most of the teachers at MSA do a really good job at getting back to parents as soon as they can.
Yes, awesome. So Parent Square is one. Please make sure that you also know your students' teachers' email. So please have that ready, save it up. And if there is other matters, office phone call. So, and they can relay the message to us. We would want to make sure that we answer your questions, and we want to hear from parents so that we can also have that connection, even if we don't see each other face to face. And my last, I think this is the last question: how can we support the well-being of our students? So I included the very first one, the family time. So spend time together after school or after work, cook food and prepare together, go outside for a walk, and or backyard to play, and then do chores together. Is there anything that I may have missed? I just named some, but is there any other suggestions, Coach Craig and Mrs. Beck, that you would like to add in terms of our family time?
When my kids were that age, I think one thing that we really enjoyed as a family was playing games, card games, board games, building puzzles, and things like that. It get a little competitive, but true nature came out. But it brought us together closer.
Cool. Yeah. How about PE, Coach Greg? I know PE. What other physical activity that you can do? I mean, I have a 4-year-old, and so he wants to jump on the trampoline, and I tried that several times, but I'm older and my bladder is normally not that efficient anymore. So that's why it's hard for me. Any other activities that you could suggest for our students to do, and spend time together with the family if they're not doing schoolwork?
Yeah, I may be biased, but I I think that being physically active is going to help your student in their learning. Also break up the monotony of sitting in a chair staring at a screen all day. So definitely have the kids get outside. And the cool part is at home, they can do an activity of their choice. I know during distance learning back in the spring, I had prescribed things for students, but they also came up with things as well. They wanted to go skateboarding or ride their bike. Things they couldn't do at school, they can now do at home for physical activity, and that's really awesome. So if you can figure out what activity your student likes, then encourage them to get out at a scheduled time during the day and get some fresh air.
And Coach Craig, also during distance learning, you did a lot of family challenges too, didn't you? With your
I did.
Oh, yeah.
I even had some families join in on the Zoom and do yoga with us. So that was really cool to see families getting involved because it makes it a lot more fun.
You had your push-up challenge? That was fun.
Yes. There was some families getting in on the competition, and I really love to see it because when parents get involved with their children's physical activity, it really shows them good role modeling and makes it just more fun for them.
Yeah, I look forward to the challenges, Coach Craig. Probably Coach Oxford too is going to do that for my kids, so I can't wait. I cannot wait to do that. I'll join in with the challenge. So that's a good one. Yeah, awesome. And also, another thing is provide rewards. As you know, when we were in the classroom, we have some rewards that we give to our students, right? Like the free dress pass. What are the other rewards that they get out of the kickboard that we had back then? Like free lunch. Huh?
At school we had a store they could use their kickboard points. Obviously we can't do that now, but they could really start saving them up for when we can come back to school.
Right. Yeah. Well, we will come up with creative ways to do that. But at home, though, provide some rewards too, like food delivery of their choice. We can't really go out. Some candies and chocolates are always the best and fastest. Some kids who likes gaming, I usually give this to my son, like Roblox gift card. Maybe more screen time to do their video games, some Amazon cards. But this last two things are the two kind of like intangible ones that I threw out. There's hugs, kisses, pat in the back, just like, hey, how are you doing? You did a great job. I'm so proud of you. Those kinds of things, I think our students need that. We won't be able to say that as often because we don't spend time with our students at home. And I think our parents would be our extension. So I hope that we could also be you as the parents to provide those um, positive reinforcement, verbal praise for our students. Anything else that I missed for the rewards part?
Maybe they could pick the movie for family movie night.
Ooh, that's a good one.
To the screen from before too.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Sweet. So, this is our last thing before, I wanted to ask, I wanted to see if we have some questions there, but our students just needs us more than ever. Us, when I say parents, also teachers. So please be patient with your students because this virtual will actually come a long way for both you and your students. And I encourage you to encourage them, your students, daily because nothing is more motivating than the words of positivity from the person that they love, the person around them. It's sad that us teachers will not be there to kind of like celebrate their success when they're doing their work, for example, in Google Classroom. It's kind of sad that we were not able to do that at an instant because we do that, like Miss Beck, Coach Craig, we did that. We do that, right? Like they're working on their assignment and then they got it right. They were successful and they were happy and they showed us their work, and then suddenly we're not able to do that to them. And so I encourage you parents to please do that, um, for your students, because that will give them the encouragement that they need, especially if they're working so hard in their assignment. And that encouragement will mean a lot to them. And lastly, to be their sounding board. I'm kind of guilty on this, at one point, last distance learning, because sometimes I forget that I have to listen to my student too. And by that, I mean to listen to, how's your day been? What did you learn in school today? And or is there anything that happened to school, to kind of like just have them, encourage them to, to open up to you, because I think that's one thing that we want our students to have that opportunity on, because there's nobody else at home. It's unlike when we're face to face, they have a friend to talk about their day, and suddenly they don't have that. And it just feels good when someone is actually listening to you. And which is why I added it on here, that we should, have that time for just us, being quiet, and listen to also to our students. That being said, Mrs. Beck, Coach Craig, anything else that you would like to?
Our librarian and one of our education specialists, Miss Appenfelder, suggested don't forget socialization. I know your students might have cell phones and they can text their friends, but it's nice to set up a Zoom. They can get a free Zoom account and interact with their peers. So that was her suggestion. I thought that was a really good one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I mean, we're gonna open the floor to Q&A, because I think we still have some questions there. But just a little thought that I've been thinking about is, as a parent and as a teacher, I just wanted to emulate what I want to see from my student, because they need role models. And it's kind of hard to translate being a role model when you only see your teachers on Zoom, right? And now that we as parents are now with our students at home and we see them every day, I think we have to stand up as role models around them. And it always starts with us parents. I'm including myself, because I'm also a parent. So with that, we'll open the floor to our parents and even teachers who might have questions for us tonight.
I just want to add real quick too.
Yes.
You were talking about being encouraging, and I think that's so important that we also encourage them for their efforts made, even if they didn't get, in math, they didn't get the right answer, or they didn't get the grade they were hoping for on an assignment. They can redo the assignment, and but just encourage them for their effort too. So that they don't get frustrated and they do keep trying always.
Exactly. Do we have a question? So if you have any questions, please throw it on the chat, and we'll try to answer the best we can. We have 10 minutes before we end our show, and let's see who has some questions.
A few MSA parents are asking about student schedules, and those will be distributed during your orientation time. So make sure you check your email. You'll be getting information about those dates and times soon. They'll be virtual, but your students will receive their schedules then. I know you're all excited to get them.
Yeah, and this one question from Jane. How do we get the incoming sixth graders to meet other kids and to get to know their new classmates? This is kind of like a tough question, but any idea that's kind of like, because I have an idea, but it has something to do with what our plans with school is in terms of our social emotional learning activities. Is that right? That's one.
I believe the sixth grade teachers are going to be working a lot on the social emotional learning as well, and putting them in small groups within Zoom, because within their group of 30, they'll be put into breakout rooms, and they can hopefully make friends that way too.
Mhm.
Cool. I hope we answered your question, Jane. But if there are other information, we will definitely contact and relay the message on how we can actually help our students to kind of like get to know each other. I know some sixth graders over summer school, and they're really excited. And there's one student, he is really excited. It's like, how can I get to know my other classmates? Is that a possibility that I could also know them? I'm like, yeah, of course. So yes, we would love any ideas that you might have also that we could also incorporate in our classes, so that students will have that opportunity to meet other kids, even if it's virtually. That is totally possible. Thank you, Jane. Do we have another question? Do you see Coach Craig question?
Yeah. I would love to prescribe some daily physical activity for everyone. I know we will only meet virtually twice a week for PE, but there will be suggested optional stuff to do the rest of the week if you want to get your student more active.
Yes, exactly. What about after school clubs?
At MSA, we will have in the afternoon tutoring and virtual clubs that your student can join. So more information will be coming about that. And that's another great way for your students to socialize and meet some other students in all the grade levels.
Yeah, exactly. And there's one question here from Norma. Can we share our contact info with other parents who might want to set up a Zoom meeting to help the kids meet? That's a good idea, though, right? But um, but we are going to, think about that. But for me, kind of like thinking also as a parent is maybe we can suggest for someone to put up a Facebook group for parents who want to contact other parents too. That and then they can also have a setup meeting with their kids after school or outside school. So I think that's one suggestion that I could. Maybe a parent can start a parent group that other parents would be interested to join in. That way, you can exchange information with other parents in MSA,
If
right?
you are interested in doing something like that, like starting a group, a Facebook group, or something where you can share that information, just contact the grade level lead of your grade level, and they can send out information to parents so you can get the word out if you want to have them join.
Or maybe
Yep.
we
I think it's a great idea.
our dean of culture too. Maybe he can arrange something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, because I think that's the way to go right now, because we can't really communicate and see each other. And I think our kids, from what I experienced over summer school, is that they will do anything to be able to have a conversation with other students. And so towards the end of our summer class, the last 10 minutes, I just have them like, okay, if you want to talk, go for it. So we're all in the main room, and then one will start the ball rolling, and then they start talking. They talk about their games, what they like. So it's kind of like very organic that they are actually talking about suddenly, like, oh, yeah, I know that game. Oh, yeah, I know this. And then there's like kind of like conversation going on. And then at the same time, other people will talk in the chat box, talk about anything. It's like, what do you like, and then what game do you play, those kinds of stuff. And I think that's an opportunity that some of our students might want to have too. So maybe that's something that I realized when we were doing summer school, that the students are actually open to, like, okay, if I don't get to see my classmates face to face, maybe we can still talk virtually. And I think that's where they're at right now. So yeah, just an experience and an idea. We have another question.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of them.
That's
Here's
the
one.
question.
A parent wants to know if we reopen in a hybrid or back to normal at school. Distance learning will always be an option. As far as what our administrators have told us, it will that will be your choice as a parent.
Yep, exactly.
At least at our school. So
At our school. Is there gonna be this one? I have one question. Is there gonna be teachers for each subject or one for all?
their schedule this fall is going to be mimicking a normal daily schedule. So there are 30 students in a class and they're rotating throughout the day. So it's not like our distance learning we had back in the spring. That was kind of like an emergency Band-Aid for the time being. So it will be smaller groups and students will rotate through all of their teachers in a block schedule.
There's a good suggestion here. It says a friendship club. You see that, Coach Greg? A
Yeah,
friendship club. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we'll put that on our. This is recorded, so we'll have our team and our administrators also, be in the loop with any questions that parents might have.
Here's one. Unfortunately, we can't release parent and student information without people's permission. But if you have created a group and you want to pass that information on to your grade level lead teacher, we can definitely get that word out so other parents can join your group. But we can't really release that information.
Yeah, I think that's what. I'm a 6th grade parent. Maybe I should start a group, right?
And actually, Lorelei says that they already have a parent Facebook group.
Yay!
So maybe you can pass that information about the Facebook group or the link to it
Yes.
to admin or even one of us. We can try to spread that to other parents.
Yes, and we would love to connect with other parents. I would love to connect to our other incoming 6th grade parents also. So if you have a group already, please share it to us, and we will be happy to, let other students and students' parents know about the group that you might have already for parents, so we can come in contact.
Mm-hmm. So the Facebook group is called MSA San Diego Families. If you want to search for that. Thank you for sharing that information.
Yes, thank you. So, woo.
And it's run by the PTF, so.
Oh, they do.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Messenger classroom. Yeah. So back home, Miss Shermamita, she's from the Philippines. They also started a Facebook group in their schools, also in the Philippines. In the Philippines, there's a lot of parents who are using Facebook, which is why she also they have started doing that as well, so parents can also be in contact with other parents as well. So, any parting words, Coach Greg and Mrs. Beck, to our parents? We are all nervous as parents because we're going to go into distance learning, remote learning. I'm doubly scared and terrified because I'm also going to be teaching. So, any words of encouragement that you might have for us?
We are really excited to see your kids, even if it is just online, and we're missing them, but we're excited to see them and be back with them soon.
Mm-hmm. Just keep in mind, it's hard for everyone. It's hard for the students to sit at home away from their friends. It's hard for the teachers not to be able to reach through the screen and help them out. And I know it's definitely hard for the parents, especially if you're working and you can't always be there for your students. So we're going to be flexible. We need to have good communication, and hopefully we'll get through this together.
Yes. And that being said, thank you so much, Coach Craig and Mrs. Beck. Will I see you next week when we answer student questions next week? Are
Yes,
we?
for sure. I can't wait.
Yes, I need more people to answer questions, especially questions that our students might have, because that's going to be our topic next week. I think we have a back to school night on that, so I will be adjusting the time. It's going to be a little bit after 6 o'clock, so I just put 6 o'clock, but most likely we'll be starting at around 6:30, 6:30 ish. So next week we are going to answer some questions from our students. What are their questions and what are their expectations during distance learning, especially when we start on the 31st, most especially for our school. So I hope that we will see you next week. So thank you, Coach Greg and Mrs. Beck, for joining me. I'll see you on the backstage real quick. And for everyone, thank you so much for watching. And I hope that we've answered all your questions. If not, please type it on the chat box. We are going to answer them after the live session. And we are going to see you next week. Bye.